So let's talk energy. I have patients come to me all the time and they're just like, I don't have the energy to do all the things I want to do. I can't really run my business effectively. I'm not being a great mom. I'm overreacting. I'm not being a great partner, and it sucks, right? And there's lots of reasons this is happening. There's not just one, okay? So I'm going to suss out some of that for you today. So hopefully you'll have a tool or two that you can take home and utilize that can help begin regaining your energy. Now, let's look at all the parts, because since it's not just one thing, we got to look at all the parts that could be in this low energy, dragging your energy down place, okay? Number one, we got to look at your level of health. How is your gut health? How are your neurotransmitters? How are your hormones? Are you exercising? Are you getting good sleep? So we got to look at that stuff. Are you eating foods that are causing you to be inflamed and causing your metabolism to slow down, which in turn causes you to be really tired and maybe actually not even sleeping well? People with blood sugar issues have this. They eat and they get their energy raised, but then that dysregulation of their blood sugar causes them to wake up in the middle of the night, so they're not getting good restful sleep. So it's interesting. We got to get the blood sugar regulated for sure. So there's this whole health component, right? And then there's this other component, and it's mindset. So how is the mind? The mind controls the body, and everything we think about changes the way the body functions. And either our thoughts are taking us towards wellness or away from it. So we have to start to identify what thoughts, programs, patterns, belief systems, things we've learned are causing us to be in a low energy state. So it could be a negative mindset around just feeling overwhelmed. Like, God, it sucks. I understand what it feels like to be overwhelmed. It sucks. It might just be maybe you're stuck in a chronic fatigue or chronic pattern of illness where your mind is just like, I'm never going to get out of this. This must be the way my life is. That doesn't have to be true. All right. Then there's also the piece around your lifestyle. And there's very specific things I could go into, but today I'm just going to leave you with a couple. One is boundaries. Most people, especially women who are doing side hustles, are not clear with their boundaries and or not honoring them. So, what are your boundaries? And when you have a boundary, are you honoring it? And are you asking other people to honor your boundaries? You have to honor your boundary first for other people to honor it. So, I'm going to give you a couple little tips that you can do right now. So as far as the health stuff, obviously, if you've got some chronic fatigue going on or some health challenges, you might want to have a practitioner help you. You might want to have some micronutrient tests done, or you might want to do a stool test. This is what I would recommend for my patients. Really get to understand what's happening in the gut, get to really understand what's happening in the cells. Are they absorbing nutrients? And are your little energy producers, mitochondria that live in the cell, are they able to do their job? Do they have their needs met so that they can produce the energy that they need to? All right. Then the other thing is start working on regulating your blood sugar. Honestly, this is something anyone can do without a doctor. You just, most of the time, okay? Nothing's ever 100%. But really, if you just look it up, like how to balance my blood sugar with food, you're going to find it. And it's pretty simple. Mostly what you're going to do for most people is eat regular meals, eat meals at regular intervals. So basically what I tell my patients to do is eat every 3 hours. You're going to have a meal or a snack, and you're going to balance your protein, carbs, and fats. And so you're going to have mostly high protein. I encourage people to aim for about 0.75 or 1 gram per pound of body weight. So I weigh 140 pounds, so I aim for 140 grams of protein per day. It sounds like a lot, but that's what you need. It's going to help balance your blood sugar. It's also going to help your muscles get what they need so that they can grow and so your bones can be strong as you age. So the other thing you can do is, so that's your protein, is to have primarily a high fat diet and a lower carb diet, because that's going to The fats and the proteins will offset the carbohydrate if your carbs aren't too high, and it'll keep everything regulated. But always have a protein, a fat, and a carbohydrate together, and that usually does the trick for most people. There are some supplements that I'd recommend if people are having a hard time. One of them is called Gymnema, and I can get that for you if you need help with that. Let me know. But it literally takes away a sweet taste. Like you can't even, if you suck on a tab of Gymnema, you cannot taste sweet. Like it's gone. Yeah, it's really amazing. And so it takes away sweet cravings. So for those that are just like binge eaters and stuff like that, which I've been myself, but I don't do that now. And it's because I've taken a lot of time to really hone my diet and get my blood sugar regulated. So that's with the diet. And then when it comes to mindset, and I will put a link below this video so that you can have access to it. But something I'd recommend doing is learning how to balance your own brain and body. And there's something called the Empower March. And again, I'll put a link below this video so that you have access to it. But the Empower March is a really great way to start shifting how your nervous system responds to certain thought patterns. So, for instance, if you have a belief that something is wrong with you, or you're incapable, or life is just never gives you a break, like whatever it is that you kind of say on a regular basis, like, oh, when it rains, it pours, or gosh, I never can get a break, or God, is this ever going to be over? Am I going to always be like this? Like whatever that thought is for you, take that into the Empower March. So that thought creates a specific neurological pattern in your body. And the more that you think it, the more deeper that groove gets. And when your grooves are really deep, those thought patterns become so common that they just become unconscious. And so we gotta start filling in those neural grooves that are negatively taking you in the direction and repatterning for something new. So the Empower March link, go to it, check it out. If you want to see this live and in action, meet me at my next Energize Your Entrepreneur free mini workshop. I'm going to be doing that Wednesday, the 26th at noon Mountain Time. I will also put a link to that below. So now we've talked about health and we've talked about mindset. The other thing I want to talk about are boundaries. So for most women, we've been taught in our culture, make everybody else happy, do all the things for everybody else, and then you come last. And then usually we have to either A, get sick, or we have to blow up and become reactive to something before we can like stop and take a breath and take care of ourselves. We get triggered somehow and we realize, oh crap, things are out of balance. But what about not doing that, right? Wouldn't that be great? And so what we want to do is we want to be really clear about our boundaries. And that means, number one, getting clear about what your boundaries are. So if you're not clear, you can't help anyone else know where your boundary is. And we just worked on this. I just taught a workshop in my You Beautifully Embodied class. And this is, we work on this in the 6-week series. And it's absolutely about boundaries. And we literally take a string and we put it on the ground as a boundary where our partner is blindfolded. And the partner starts coming to the person in the middle that has put their boundary down, but the partner has not seen it because the person in the middle hasn't been clear. And so the partner comes into their boundary and the person has to figure out what to do with that. But then when the person takes the blindfold off and can see the person has a boundary there, then they can honor that and they can be in relationship and there can be polarity and magnetism. So it's just such a fun exercise when we start to realize how important it is to have a boundary and to be clear about it. But the second part of that is that we have to honor it ourselves. So one of the things I've put together is a system for myself. I've lost my assistant and I figured I'm going to do this on my own. I've been carrying her for 3 months. I'm going to do this on my own. I got this, right? But in order to do that, I've got to put systems in place. And because I was training her and she'd never done a job like this before, I had put systems in place for her that, from my perspective, made things really easy. So now I have all these systems in place. And I realized, okay, if I'm going to actually do her job and my job, I've got to be very focused and on point. And we always have to remember that our inbox is going to be full no matter what hat you're wearing, right? So I have literally blocks of time that are dedicated to the different jobs I do. Blocks of time for admin, blocks of time for marketing, blocks of time for follow-up calls, blocks of time for sales calls, blocks of times for CFO work, blocks of time for CEO work. So all of that is outlined on my calendar. Now, I've done this before and it didn't work out, but it's working now. And the reason why is I'm honoring my boundaries. Okay, that is what it takes. If you're the person who says, yeah, I block my calendar out, but I don't stick to it, it's because number one, you have chosen not to honor yourself. And number two, your setup isn't appropriate for your needs. Like you need some help reorganizing it and setting it up, structuring it differently so that it is actually doable. Because what happens is for a lot of us women entrepreneurs, I hear this all the time, is we're like, okay, we set the thing up, we got the structure and we go in, we start working it and then it becomes overwhelming and we just throw up our hands and stop doing it. But you don't have to do that. You just need to rework it so that it actually aligns with your needs. All right. So those are the things I want to share with you and leave you with today. Again, if you want more information on this, I do have a group coaching program that's coming up for women entrepreneurs who don't have the energy to run their business. And we're going to be talking about all this stuff and so much more. I'm really looking forward to getting that going. And if you're interested in learning more about that, meet me on my free mini workshop because I'm going to start giving you the tools right there and you can start employing them. So I would love to hear your feedback. If you've tried any of these things and they're not working, let me know. Maybe we can suss out a better system for you. All right. I'll look forward to hearing from you soon.